In this video, we'll just go over Autoptimize, which is a plugin that can concatenate and minimize your JavaScript and your CSS. So if you've ever done a speed test on your website through GT metrics, like I'm using here, or Google PageSpeed, you might get a score for your site, and then it'll have some suggestions. So Google PageSpeed here says minify JavaScript, that's one of the big things, and defer passing of JavaScript, that's another big thing. If we go to why slow, make fewer HTTP requests, that's a big deal here. Minify JavaScript and CSS, it's got an F there, and as you can see up here, it's got a fairly decent page size. It's not over the top, but it's making quite a lot of requests. So a fast way to do that is to use the Autoptimize plugin to optimize the loading of your JavaScript and your CSS. So if we go to add new and then type in Autoptimize, it's like auto optimize but without the extra O in the middle. And then go install now. And go activate plugin. So this is the WooCommerce site that I'm playing around with. If we bring up the developer tools, so here's all the, I'll go to JavaScript. Here's all the JavaScript that's being loaded. So as you can see, I mean, it's a WooCommerce store, so there's a fair amount of JavaScript to load to make all the e-commerce stuff work. But all that stuff is going to slow down our site. If we flip over to CSS, it's a pretty light theme. I'm just using the 2016 WordPress theme, default one, and it's fairly light, so it's not that much CSS. But we can improve upon it. So Autoptimize is loaded there. If we go to settings, and these are the settings. So you've got a few settings for HTML, JavaScript and CSS. You can also use a CDN if you want to really get your site moving fast. Optimize HTML, that's basically minifying the HTML code, and that's one of the sort of marks that you get marked against in Google PageSpeed. So we can minify that. There's not a huge amount of gains to be made by it, but we'll do it anyway. If you want to keep the comments in your HTML to make AdSense work properly, then check that box. We'll optimize JavaScript code, and we'll also optimize the CSS. So if I go save changes and empty cache, that should combine all of our scripts together. If I come back to this one, and so this is the CSS, sorry, the JavaScript that's loading now. And as you can see, we've gone from loads and loads of separate scripts just to one, and there's a couple of other ones. There are some that are excluded because it'll screw up WordPress if it does load them. Then if we go over to CSS, there's still quite a bit of stuff here for like Google fonts. The admin bar usually isn't on anyway for people just seeing the front of your site, but it's squished all the CSS into about 3 Autoptimize files, and there's a few sort of extra ones there. So all of that will make your site load a hell of a lot faster. So if your site has lots of fancy JavaScript effects or functionality that's dependent on JavaScript, it'll pay just to sort of go through and especially if it's an e-commerce store, don't do this on a live site, do it on a local development version, and just sort of go through and make sure everything works. So if it doesn't work, there's a few things that you can do. Come back to the settings for Autoptimize, click on Show Advanced Settings, and here's a few settings that you can use to try and fix stuff. This one, catch wrapping here, quite often fixes it. If you sort of have some development ability, you can maybe find the JavaScript file that's causing the problem and then exclude it from the list. That's one way of fixing things. And sometimes playing around with these settings. This one forces JavaScript into the head, so it loads first. It's kind of better for it to load at the bottom of the page, but a lot of website functionality is dependent on loading things like jQuery first, so you might need that. If anything in the styling of your site is sort of screwed up, then just play around with the CSS options. These ones like this will save you more bandwidth and download size, but they can sort of screw up your site as well. And again, you can exclude certain CSS files from being minified. So that's pretty much how you use it. It's pretty easy to optimize your site and get heaps better scores on Google PageSpeed.